Howdy folks, today we're going to talk about IEM. I never thought I'd ever talk about another one of these as long as I lived, but friends sent me these and said I have to hear them because they're actually not garbage. These are KZs, which is Knowledge Zenith. You see? Right here they're going to tell us stuff. So it says New Era Tech Zenith, which just random. They have 4 dip switches, which is interesting because really they only have arguably 2 settings. One is more bass and one is less bass. Don't worry about that. I don't care that much. Relatively pretty. I'm actually trying to see inside here. Now look, when people talk about open back or open this or open that, you have to be very specific. So we can see that, we can see through the screen on the back of these pretty well. But that does not mean they're open back. All it means is that the driver inside of this, is one dynamic driver, has a damper on the back. That's pretty much the way all dynamic driver sets are. What is nice though is that sometimes you can get back wave reflections in a shell, so this would not have any of that, but these are not open back. They're just normal. We'll just call them that, with no back wave garbage happening. They are metal, which is interesting. KZs are generally plastic. We can see we have a front damper here. And we don't need a back pinhole because the whole thing is sort of open with a mesh. And extruded 2-pin, that's always the way KZ does things. And by the way, these suck. There's very rare times when you're not going to find someone with a broken KZ tip, the 2-pin tip, something fractures off of this or something. It's a bad design. I just don't like it. Anyway, let's look at the damper on this. These are not mine, so I can't take them apart, but I'm just sort of going to look to see if I can see any damper things. Looks to me like there's no pinhole through the center of the damper right there, and it's probably a reasonably high value, something like that. Anyway, so I would not have done a review of these if they weren't actually reasonably decent, and I'm going to have to force myself to say reasonably decent. That's as good as it's going to get with these. So, yeah, decent build quality. The fit is like, it's whatever, really. Not like the best ever, not the worst ever, just fine, fine. And this little thing is for nothing. It doesn't turn or do anything like that. And let's go ahead and do a graph over here. So we'll go to the desktop, just a second here. How do I do that? Oh, that's right. I go here, and then I click this. Don't pay attention to that. All right, so we're going to do another graph. Stuck them in my coupler. Oops. Yep. Using Softair's Ultra Clear Tips. Get a nice little squiggly line going on here. Cool. All right. So, things that I will notice. Let me align these. The red graph is from the Dunu Kima 2, just to say that. And let's align these. And I think I'll align them to more like... No, I'll do 2.5K. I've actually found that works well. Okay, so what do we see here? We're in green. We have approximately 7 or 8 decibels, looks like, of ear gain centered right around 2.5K. We have the same energy at about 5.5 as we do in the mid-range at 500. We have a fairly large coupler peak at 8K. There's this really weird dip right here, right around 10K, which is interesting. Back from some of my older videos, I had this quote-unquote theory that if you have a big trough right around 10K, then that would increase the 3D staging. And indeed, these do have more 3D staging and a little more X factor than the Dunu Kima 2. So maybe that is part of that. I'm not sure. But in any case, so if we look at the air treble frequencies from the mid-range, we are down at, let's say, about 13K. Same, it's actually fairly similar, about 6 decibels. Give or take a little extra. 711s are not accurate in this area, but we can see that we have some energy up to maybe like 15K and a nice steady drop off there. And then for the bass, we're going to come over here and we can see that we have about 9 decibels. So it's going to have more bass than the Kima 2. A little bit better 3D, a little bit better X factor, and a little bit lower treble, right around 4K, 4.5K. So just to talk about the graph, and I do think that the bass on these is actually fairly decent. I'm not going to call it the best bass ever. It's not that. It's just decent bass. Pretty good, not bad. I think what overall why these got sent to me. Let me flip back over to this. Overall, these got sent to me because shockingly, KZ did not make a piece of shit. These are actually fairly decent. I forget the price. They're not super cheap, maybe like 50 to 70 bucks, I think. Maybe it was 40. I don't know. Whatever. They shouldn't be super expensive. Metal build quality, not too bad. I actually would not mind taking them apart, but again, they're not mine, so I'll have to keep them in one piece. The dip switches are useless. Pretty much. I don't know. You could just have one, which has like more bass and less bass. That's it. 4 is like, what the hell? Weird. So these are going to get like, nope, they're not getting a recommendation. They're KZs, and it's just not in my wheelhouse to recommend KZs. I don't like their company. I don't like the fact that they put out a new headphone like every 2 weeks. It's just, you can tell they're not putting a lot of effort into things, and if they happen to get something good, it's just basically random chance. But, it is what it is. We'll have to just call it a decent headphone. And that's probably about all I have to say. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you on the next one.